Okay, so yeah, okay, start. So hello guys, today I'm going to show you the basic Windows and Linux privilege escalation methodology basics, under which under this video we going to learn a lot of about Windows and Linux command line interface and their works of their particular command. So yeah, let's get into it. Let me just go to my VirtualBox. Okay, sorry, I'm not going to run another one. Let me just power off this one. Okay, so let me just go to my VirtualBox and yeah. Okay, so first thing first, in whenever you got any sort of access in your computer, if in your client computer, or you can say uh, low privilege kind of computer, then first thing first, what do you need to do, that you want to know about who am I. It means that which user you are currently logging, or you access about that particular user. Okay, let's just say you got some sort of access of some user. Then you want to know now that which user I am currently logged in. So I can privilege, if that particular I know about that particular user, and I want to privilege that on a user to the superior one, I can do that. But first thing first, we need to find out about that particular user. For finding about that, who am I just have to type who am I. So it's going to say that it's Kali. So basically it's going to show that what is your host name. Okay, what is your host name. So but you want to know about that, where is the host name actually located. So the basically it's actually located on, there's a path called cat etc host. Okay, so as you can see, this is going to show that your local host is Kali. So if you want to ping that particular Kali thing, you can ping. Okay, and in Windows the command is pretty simple. Let me just clear this out. The command is pretty simple because it's actually same. So type who am I, and yeah, you actually currently log in as a thm winfun slash administrator. Okay, so this is your name in the network. So let me just show you how can we use this thing as an in a pinging manner. Okay, so yeah. Okay, uh, okay, so I done something wrong because I actually put the administrator also. Yeah, so I can ping that particular host name also. Now when you know about the host name thing, that who are you, and what name of your computer in network, then we need to find out about the users of your computer itself. Then what are the user in your computer itself that you access in. So for knowing about the user in Windows, you just type net user. And as you can see, there are two user in my computer. I'm not including the guest one. The first one is administrator, the second one is try hack me Billy, and there's another user called WDGA utility account. It's actually assigned to the window defender. Okay, so you don't need to worry about this user. And there's a guest one which is a guest one. Okay, now for knowing about the user in Linux, there's a thing called cat etc I think it's group. Yeah, groups. So as you can see, the only way for finding the username in your computer, there's a command called etc groups. Okay, so and under the etc groups, all your relevant information about your user actually stored. The first one is root, as you can see, and there's plenty of user which signify to the plenty of their task assigned to it. And let me just go. Yeah, there's a user called Kali which I am currently logging, and there's another called VBox which is actually assigned for VirtualBox because I am running a VirtualBox. And yeah, systemd xrdp, yeah, they are pretty much specific tasks to assign these kind of user. Okay, now finding out the user ID and GUID. Okay, finding out the ID itself, that what are the ID, just you have to type ID. For finding about the ID, what is the meaning of ID? That what user ID I'm correctly logged into. UID for user ID, GID for group ID, and the groups it's called 1000. Okay, I just show you about that thing, that GUID and the group ID is actually 1000, and when you see that GUID is 1000. Okay, so they are same because I am currently logged into the Kali user. On the other hand, yeah, on a window one, if you want to find about the user and their groups. Okay, so let me just find out what are the groups are currently created in my in my window machine. Just to type net local group. So these are all the groups which actually currently manages in my computer. Hyper-V for hypervisor, administrator for administrative account, user for user itself, remote desktop access server for remote desktop users. Okay, now let me just find something interesting. When we type net user here, there's a uh, there's a user called tryhackmebilly. Okay, let me just copy this thing and let me just net user particular tryhackmebilly. So it's going to show me the entire thing about the user, when it created, what kind of last login this user actually got into the system, what the main thing is, what local groups the user actually a member of. As you can see, it's a remote desktop user and the user itself. It means that if RDP service is enabled in this computer, then we can if we have the potential credentials for tryhackmebilly, we can get access to the tryhackmebilly account. Okay, so for knowing about the groups in the Linux, you have to just to type cat etc passwd. Okay, so it's going to show you all the relevant information about your groups as well as their task assigned to it. So root, for because root UID and GUID is 0, that's why it's root, and the following path for that. And let me just go to below. Yeah, the Kali, I'm recently show you that it is the GUID and UID stuff. Okay, now for host name. Okay, for host name, what is the host name under which any kind of other client can access to your computer, access to your can ping your computer. Okay, for just to type host name, and yeah, host name, yeah, and in here also you can type host name. Okay, so he can pretty much ping you by using this thing to call THMA WinFund. Let me just copy this thing and show you. Ping. Mm-hmm. Ping. Come on. I think the RDP service is a little unstable one. Okay, just a minute. Okay, yeah, it's working. Yeah, we can ping the machine. Okay, now now it's time for some juicy part. For knowing about the services and processes in Windows, what do you need to do? You need to there's a thing called task list. Okay, TASKLIST. All the tasks in your computer actually which is running or happening in your computer going to be processed out. the basically the service name, okay, the PID of that particular service name, which is called process ID. Thus, okay, so I think, sorry, I think I lost a connection. Let me just pause. Okay, so yeah, okay. So, for knowing about that, knowing about your services in your computer, you just have to type task list, and all the services related to your computer are going to be prompt out. Okay. There's another way called task list and followed by the particular syntax, or you can say particular switch. Okay, these are also a command for finding out the compact version of your task list, task list output, under which we can know the service name, assign the PID, and what actually service are actually assigned to it. Just like SVC host, all these things are actually assigned to the SVC host executable file. Okay, which is basically it's this executable file actually hosting these service. So let me just find out if something another juicy stuff I found it or not. Yeah, no, I don't find anything. Let's just go to the Linux one. For finding processes in Linux, or you can say services in Linux, it is pretty simple. You just have to type ps aux, and all the information regarding your uh, system going to prompt it out to you. Okay, so first thing first, user. So these are the user which okay, second thing is PID, which is called process ID, and the CPU, how much CPU is actually um, contained by that particular service, and uh, the command for that particular service itself. So the main thing we need to find out that what service is actually assigned to which user. For example, let's just say if someone asks me that what there's a service called write back, and that particular service is assigned to which user. Okay, so it's under root, and let me just go below. So if we find something interesting, yeah, so all these services which you are seeing right now, actually assigned by the Kali user, which is okay, which is assigned by which can be accessed by me, or you can say modified by me. Okay, so let's get so now we want to know about our operating system architecture. For knowing about the operating system architecture, there's a command called system info. Okay, all the information regarding a computer, that it is a Microsoft Windows Server 2019 edition. The OS version is this, and the build version is this. Okay, going to prompt it out to you. Okay, for finding the Linux one, for finding the Linux architecture, you just to type cat etc os release. Okay, so let me just zoom a little bit. So it's going to show you that it is a Kali GUI Linux. GNU means GNU for graphical user interface. Okay, and the version is this, and yeah, and it's a rolling based distro. It means that the package is actually rolling day by day, just like Arch one, just like Arch repositories kind of thing. Okay, now we know about some basic thing about the basic thing about the operating system. Now we want to know about the kernel version. Okay, what is the kernel version? So you have to type uname in Linux tag ar. So basically it's going to show you that these are all the information your computer have, and this is the particular kernel version. Why we need the kernel version? So there is a website called exploit db. Okay, just go to that particular website. Under this particular website, all the exploit regarding any kind of operating system are stored in here. Okay, you should type the particular cv, which is called um, what is the stand for? I think it's vulnerability assessment. What is cv stand for? Common vulnerability assessment. Yeah, it's called common vulnerability assessment. So these are all particular cvs. Okay, these are all particular cvs which have some sort of misconfiguration, just like this. As you can see, it's on a windows one. Okay, this is on a php kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, so let's just say if this kernel version have some sort of exploit, it's not, but let's just say it's have. Okay, so how we need to, how we can find that? We just have to type exploit db particular version name. Okay, copy, paste, and hit enter. So as you can see, there are no exploit find for this kind of for this version, for this kind of version. But yeah, if we look into the Google Linux kernel exploit list, as you can see, these are all the kernel exploit. These are all the kernel exploit which is provided by the exploitdb community itself. Okay, these are all the kernel exploit. So this is the common vulnerability assessment 2017. It's actually going to attack the version before the 4.11. In my case it's 5.14, so I don't need to worry. And it is before it actually work on 4.9.36 also. So those person who have this although it's not going to be possible because it's a 2017. And yeah, but yeah, if any person have this old kind of kernel, then please update that out. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, so in this website you can find pretty much any kind of cv which actually published in exploitdb community in previous time. As you can see, it is actually published in 2009. It's on git means git clone git clone. Okay, yeah. Now we find some basic thing okay, so how can we find a kernel version in windows? It is pretty same. The kernel version, it's the kernel version of the of windows is nothing but the version itself. Okay, so you just have to type this one and find some exploit if it is possible. And there's another thing called build number. Build number is also very important for finding the exploit for particular pc, for particular os version. Okay, now we are done with the basic enumerating part. Now let's just shift to the networking thing. Okay, so first thing first, we need to find out the ip itself. For finding out the ip config, as you can see, ipv4 means ipv version 4 address, and this is my ip. But we want to know about more information regarding ipv and ipv6. The ipv6 is this. Okay, the above one. So we need to find some more information. So tag ALL. So these are all the information regarding your IP and that internet adapter and other stuff going to prompt it to you, just like the IPv6, the DHCP domain host control protocol, which actually provided your static IP. Okay, default gateway under which your basically the network actually transferred or manage DNS for domain name server, and NetBIOS is enabled. Okay, fine. Now in Linux, the command is slightly changed, ifconfig, for finding out about the IP. Okay, so in my case it's turned 0 because I am in a VPN one, that's why is saying that my IP is this. But if we talk about the Ethernet connection kind of thing, my IP is this, which is 190.168.43.109. okay, fine. Now there's another way for finding IP in Linux called IP adder. So under this you find your IP in this form called inet. Let me just find the IP some in a little crisp manner. If I type ipconfig pipeline grep for grabbing that particular output and inet, it's going to show you the result in a much more crisp manner. Okay, now let's just find out about about the network modules, or you can say network route. Okay, so for finding that network routing, that from where to where that your basically your connection is going, there's a command called route print. Okay, so yeah, let me just, okay, so connection is like fine. Just a minute, need to reconnect. Okay, okay, so basically when we type the route table route print command, but keep in mind that it actually works on Windows only. Okay, it's not going to work on Linux. For that network, it's going to give you the entire thing, which include network destination, netmask, gateway, interface, and yeah, they are mainly thing. Network destination means where the packet, or you can say the particular bytes is actually going. Netmask, you know about the subnet mask, na? It is which is 255.255.255.255. Okay, you can see that in using, if I can, where is the option? Yeah, go to properties, go to IPv4, and as you can see, there's a it's a basically it's a procedure uh, for maintaining the static IP. By default, you have a dynamic IP, which is provided by the DHCP, Dynamic Host Control Protocol. But you can use in that particular place, which is subnet mask, you need to provide this thing. Okay, 255.255.25. Okay, so I'm not going to set a static IP for the sake of the video itself. Yeah, so now it's time for open ports that in my computer. What are the ports? Come on, man. What are the ports actually running in my computer, and on which port actually on which port actually which service is actually listening. For in Windows, you just have to type netstat tag ANO for knowing about the ports. Okay, let's just find out that yeah. So it's going to show you the protocol, which protocol is using. It can be TCP, it can be UDP. Local address on which particular address, and on which particular port actually the particular port is listening or established or something else. Okay, so and the state of that particular port. As you can see, these are all the port which is listening except this established one, because it actually hosting 3389 port, which is actually determined to the RDP, because I am a RDP connection in a right now. That's why it's going to show you the established one and that particular PID for that particular service. Okay, for particular um, yeah, service. Now we need to find out about the firewall kind of thing. Okay, firewall. How to find information about the firewall in Linux. Oh, sorry, in Windows, you just have to type net sh space. I think is adb fire wall. I think, and it is yeah, firewall. So rule. I think its name is equal to all. Or, yeah, is equal to all, and going to show you all the information regarding your firewall. Okay, let's just find out some more information. Yeah, let's just find out that if some sort of yeah, it going to the it's going to give me the first prompt, which is SNMP, simple network management protocol, I think it's called, and the action is allowed. Yeah, okay. So I don't know about in depth in this thing, so you can search and can comment on a comment section that what are these things. Okay, so basically all the firewalls, all these particular services are actually monitored by the firewall itself. Okay, and the state actually which is enable or not, it's going to be prompted out, it's no or yes. Okay, and the action is allowed or disallowed, basically going to prompted you that but your firewall actually monitoring this services or not. It means that if any sort of vulnerabilities, any sort of misconfiguration happening on that particular services, then it's going to give you the protection by using firewall. Okay, now in Linux, to find out about the firewall state, you just have to type sudo apt install fire wall. I think, yeah, you have to just type firewall, and you have to type the firewall applet. I'm not going to show you because I installed this one. And for knowing about the firewall, you just have to type firewall. I think it's cmd state. Yeah, state. Okay, so it's going to show you that it's not running. Okay, so let me just check how to run the firewall. Let me just check if some no. Okay, let me check how to run the firewall. How to run the firewall. Not file, yeah, firewall. Okay, so for firewall, there's a thing called systemctl start firewall. Okay, so let's just copy this thing and find out that it is working or not. If it's not, then we can pursue to the another topic. Let me just check, is it require sudo permission or not. So it's let me just find out the status is running, and yeah, as you can see, it's going to show you that it's running. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to make this running make my firewall running, because it's a good thing to do. Now, for knowing about the cron tab, it's Linux, it's very important. Why? Because cron tab uh, uh, is a thing to manage the regular task services and regular schedule which the user do into in their day-to-day task. Keep in mind that the cron tab divided in three portion: weekly, daily, hourly basis. Okay, so all of your weekly and daily and hourly basis kind of stuff actually noted on the cron tab. So for the cron tab, you just have to type sudo. Let me just go to the root first. Cat etc cron tab. Okay, you can see this thing under which what we do and on a hourly basis, but it's not going to show you the detailed report. For detailed report, you just to go to the, no, I'm not going to go exploit cron tab. Yeah, it is on cron weekly or daily. So it's a directory, so we need to go to the directory first, ls, and as you can see, all the apache 2 configuration are actually stored on the particular cron tab. Okay, there are another modules also for apt compact, dpkg for the debian package which actually install on my computer, mandb for that database, man database. If you don't know about the man, let's just say if you want to know about the command called listing the directory, ls for listing the current directory. It's going to show you, it's going to prompt you all the directory which actually install on a computer. Let's just say you don't know about that particular command. For how to find the instruction for that particular command, we use man page for that. Man ls, it going to show that it is a command for listing the all the directory content. Okay, yeah. So yeah, let me just, so as you can see, I told you about that it is stored on a daily, basis, on a hourly basis, on a monthly basis. You can go to that particular directory and check if any kind of misconfiguration occurs on that particular directory or not, so you can pretty much encounter that malfunction. Okay, now finding about the weak file permission is a very important thing in computer. Finding about the, so not weak file permission, finding about the install application on your computer is a very important thing to do. So how can we find that? How can we know that what are the program are actually installed in my computer? In my Linux computer, it can be Windows computer. I'm going to show you in a both platform. First, Linux one. For finding about the all the packages which actually install on a computer, you just have to type dpkg tag l. Okay, so it's going to show you all the information regarding your basically your computer itself. What are those uh, what are those application actually installed, and the AMD 64 for 64 bit, if you might to know about that. So these are all the packages actually installed in my computer. Okay, so uh, yeah, fine. Now it's time for knowing about the Windows one. So okay, so for finding about the all the packages in the window, we need to use a utility called wmic. What is called wmic? Let me just find out the acronym for that. It's called, I think, window advanced management something which something. WMIC stands for window management instrument command line. Yeah, it's window management instrument command line. So finding about the all the packages which is actually installed on a computer, how can we find it? By using wmic command. Wmic product product, yeah, get want to know about that name. So when you type the WMIC product now, it's going to show you extensive amount of information, but we don't need that. We need a specific thing. We need a crisp kind of information in order to perform our task. Vendor, we need to know about the vendor itself, that uh, which actually company actually hosted that particular application or provided that particular application, and the version itself, that are the version. And when you let me just check. Yeah, okay, so hit enter. It's going to give the all the information of my uh, computer packages which I actually installed in my Windows computer one. uh, we have to wait first, because it's going to fetch all the details in my computer. Okay, so I think connection is lost. Okay, so the result is clear, prompted to you, that VMware tool for virtualization. Let me just check it is installed or not. VMware. So there's a tool in VMware, but we don't find that. Nevertheless, Microsoft Visual Studio C++. It is basically it's a program for the C++ coding. Yeah, there are plenty of um, application which actually install in my computer. We need it going to prompt you know name and the bit procedure also. The name is actually prompted to in this manner: Microsoft Visual C++, Microsoft Visual, and Amazon SSM as agent, etc. And the bit procedure also, bit process also, that which architecture on a base, it is an 64 one, it is an 32 one, x64 for x64 bit architecture, x86 for 32 bit architecture. Okay, now now we need to find out about the writable permission of the file. What does the mean the writable permission? So let's just say I create a file. Okay, let me just go to the document. uh, Let me just create a directory for YouTube itself. Go to a particular directory. Okay, let me just create a file, and the file name will be permission.txt. When we create this file, we need to find out the information about that particular file by the uh, relevant permission one. Okay, as you can see, it's going to give me the permission, give me the read and writable execution policies for that particular permission.txt file. Because I created that particular file under the root, so there's a high chance that the low privilege user cannot access that particular file, because there's a thing called file permission in Linux. So as you can see, this thing actually calling me that it is the read and write. It means that the root user can read or write, means can be read or can write the particular file permission.txt. And another thing called read, it's for groups. Okay, the first okay, the first is actually assigned to the particular user, which user actually created it, and the another one for the groups, and the last one for the public one, that the all the other user actually in an internal network itself. So the root user can read and write, the group can only read, and the public can also only read. Let's just change that particular module. So let me just find out now what is the permission, is the permission is changed or not. As you can see, the permission is quite changed from this, from that. So I changed that permission to um, all the platform, from user, from groups, from the uh, public itself. So what I changed that particular, what I changed the permission, I changed the permission to all those person in a network can access, can read, can execute, and can write this permission.txt. So in this situation, this file is a vulnerable one. Okay, vulnerable one means it is a very malicious one, because it can be accessed by the root, also it can be accessed by the low privilege user also. So let's just say it is an important file, and low privilege user modify this file and make this as an exploit, and root user run this particular file, and some sort of reverse connection happen for the low level user itself. It means the low level user got a access of the root user without knowing the password of the root itself. So it is really important thing to do. It's a really critical thing in a network itself, for finding about the all those vulnerable permissions file in Linux. There's a command called find. Okay, find command, and yeah, forward slash and writable, type f type no type f to dev null. So what it's going to do, so I just give I just told the Linux that find entire directory. Entire directory means entire hard disk, if any kind of writable file, which because writable file is accessing or not, and the type of that particular file is file itself, and all, if any kind of you can say any kind of authentication occurs, then just bypasses, because I am a root user itself. Just hit enter. Okay, so yeah, sorry, I just so these are all the files, okay, which have a weak file permission in my computer itself. Okay, yeah, okay, just stop. Now on Windows, if you want to find the weak file permission, how can we find out that? It is a it is a little let me just find out that if the command is, because I there's a no way I can know that particular command in a, okay, nope, I cannot. Okay, so let me just type this command, get child child item na, yeah, it's item c program files, because all those program files actually store on those program files, recurse get ACL for access control TUST no TUSTRING I think, match everyone, s allow s modify. Yeah. Okay, so I know I did some wrong because it's a lengthy command. It's a lengthy command because get child item, get child item, C program files, recurse rucurse, yeah, get ACL. Okay, pipeline it to the okay, dollar sign access double c ds toss string. Okay, match. Okay, everyone's allowed modify. Okay, so I think we need to go to the PowerShell for this thing. Okay, so because there are no such files, no such directories located in this Windows computer, that's why it's not going to give you any kind of information. Okay, if it's going to find any kind of misconfiguration permission file, it's going to give you the information about that particular file. Okay, so now there's an important thing about kernel and drivers. For knowing about the kernel and drivers in your Linux machine, you just to type ls mode. So all those drivers regarding sound, regarding videos, regarding uh, going to give you the information about that. Okay, as you can see, this is an Intel driver. Okay, okay, yeah, this is a video one. Yeah, so these are the some basic enumerating thing which you need to encounter first if you find some sort of access. So I'm going to upload a video on a skill thing also. So if you find this video interesting, please comment down in a comment section that what I need to improve in order to make this tutorial much more influenceable and much more effective. Okay, so yeah, bye.